What is going on, beautiful people? Welcome back to the 817 podcast, where we talk about the lovely city of Fort Worth, Texas. We get into politics, business, culture, news. If it impacts you as a Fort Worthian, we discuss it. We give you one big story, 3 short stories, wins and losses. But today, we have a guest. Not one only, but the great Taylor Rehmet showing out for the state of Texas.
Thank you.
Man, how did it feel? I know you had the watch party at Nickel City, one of the best bars in Fort Worth, by the way. So good call there.
Thank you. It was wonderful.
But how was it?
It was overwhelming. I can't believe that there was such a good turnout as far as, friends, family, supporters. It just makes me feel so loved and supported in what we're doing and the mission that we have. We came into this with something solid. We know that the working Texans in this state are feeling the squeeze of this economy. They're feeling these stagnating, wages, and we fought for them in this election. And that's the result. We got 48%.
Wow.
This is something that people should not underestimate. When you actually have a clear message and way to help working Texans, that's the response you get. And I was just, again, overwhelmed. I was so happy that my team got the validation of this. My team has been working hard, and they punch above their weight. They are.
You got some juggernauts.
I really do. I could not ask for a better team. I'm so proud of them and all their hard work. I'm so proud of all my supporters. And I'm happy. I think that this is what we need for Texas.
Yeah, I think I made a comment before about when people are having fun, then they're enthused to show up. So I think people need to know that you all worked really, really hard, but had fun. And now you're really having fun because that outcome of all of that hard work was rewarded substantially.
Yeah. And let me give some context for anyone who's kind of like, who's Taylor Rehmet, just because, SD9. So Senate District 9 had a race. So if you're not in that race, you couldn't see Taylor on your ticket. You only saw the amendments. And unfortunately, those didn't go so hot. But Taylor Rehmet was the shining star of Texas. 17-point swing when you look at it from the 2024 election of Donald Trump. So Donald Trump won Senate District 9 by 17 points. And you were 3,000 people away from winning that district outright. So when you look at, I know we had Zohran Mamdani in the mayor in New York, you had all the stuff in Virginia, you had all these things, but if you really look at the shake in this country, what had the biggest swing, it was this man's race. And you did that, and that's really huge. And we're talking millions of dollars on the other side.
Yeah, no kidding. The amounts of money that were raised by those 2 other candidates were obscene, and they spent a ton of money.
How was navigating that? If you're as the candidate and you're seeing cash on the other side, what's going through? What's your team saying to you about all that?
We knew that we were going to get outspent. Now, we did really get outspent, but we didn't get outworked. We really had a mission of we have to show up to voters, talk to them, because the first part of representation is showing up, and that means not where you want to be, where the voters are, and talking to them and asking them, hey, what are you going through? And when we're knocking these doors, I wasn't surprised. I was surprised by the overperformance, but we knew that we were going to do well because people, Republican or Democrat, are looking for change. And that's what we're going to deliver. We're going to deliver real, measurable change. We're going to provide a seat at the table for working folks. We want them to have a voice in the legislature. I want to make sure that I hold Republicans and Democrats accountable if they're not fighting for working Texans. Point blank, period.
Yeah.
So we knew that it was going to be a time where we were going to be outspent, but not outworked. And we had so many volunteers. And I know that with this excitement and the inspiration that we've all had from this result, that we can go out there with more volunteers, more support, and really bring home another surprise in this runoff.
Yeah.
So that's what we're looking to do. I really encourage anyone, call to action, go to my website, taylorfortx.com.
Yeah.
Scroll all the way to the bottom past endorsements. Sign up. We'd love for you to come out and join us. We do have a lot of fun. I'm gonna tell you right now, we have a lot of fun. We have snacks. We provide snacks, all kinds of stuff, and just going out there, and it's a community building exercise.
Yeah.
And that's what this is really all about, because we have lost community in politics.
Yeah.
That is why, politics has a negative connotation. And I wish we could change that. And I think we may not ever change it, but we can help, make our community pick the politicians. And that's what I really want to see.
I mean, I also, what's exciting is we don't at this moment of recording, do not know when the runoff election will be. Based off of hearing from Tarrant Democratic Party, Allison Campolo, I asked her, when would it be? She is guessing around January 20 to 27th. So mark that week for your calendar. Because I think this is important, because there has been some misinformation that this could be at the municipal election with February or December.
It's very confusing.
Yeah.
I was actually going to ask the very same question.
Yeah.
And that seems very intentional.
Yeah, yeah. And
to make it as confusing as possible.
And we're waiting for Governor Abbott to actually make that happen, of when is this going to be set. And so be on the lookout. I think that's very important there. But what's also exciting for this runoff is that I think Fort Worth and Keller and Southlake, all these areas that represent you, they've had frustration in their education systems, with Fort Worth being the state takeover that just recently happened. We had Gina on, Hinojosa, and then the Keller ISD, we had the parents on and students when they were trying to do that split in Keller ISD. And then obviously Southlake was the beginning of it all in 2018 when they started doing the book bans and pitting the school board. And so I think the fact that you're running against a candidate who was the chief architect of all that stuff, and now you're running, I think you have such an opportunity to not just win Democrats, not just win young people, but win families who you don't mess with their kids' education.
You put it correctly. This is a choice you can make in this election, where whenever I go to the Senate, I'm going to make sure that I'm fighting to fund these schools, because no matter what zip code you're in, your kids should have a high quality education. That starts with getting more teachers, paying them better so we attract the best talent, and we retain the best talent, more importantly. So there's a lot of ways we can combat this, but we have to make sure that we do fight against school takeovers. We fight against the injustice of what they tried to do with the Keller ISD. These are things that voters have made clear are not in their best interest. They're not going to go for this.
Yeah.
So when we look at how to get these schools better funded, people always are super concerned about their property taxes, and I understand it's not easy, especially with all these other rising costs, increasing your property tax. Well, we could fund these schools with increasing the maintenance and operation of taken over from the state.
Yeah.
So the state historically used to pay, I believe, almost 60% of the costs for maintenance and operation, and property taxes were lower. Now I believe we're under 40%. Wow. So if you look at our surplus and our rainy day fund, we're over $28 billion.
Yes.
We're not bankers. We don't want to just look at that money and say, oh, look
just
at our bank account.
Like a dragon.
It's the taxpayers' money, and it needs to go to the taxpayer and relieving the burden of these property taxes, but also we need to make sure that it also funds these schools. More importantly, our best investment is in our Texans. Yeah. That's in our workforce, but that's also in our schools. So we have an educated workforce. It almost makes me feel like they want workers, not thinkers. Yeah. And that concerns me.
$28 billion sitting there in Texas. Think about an average Texan what's sitting in our bank account, and you're sitting in a state who says it cares about you. Yeah. And has $28 billion of free cash flow just sitting there, and we're not in the top 40 in paying school for education. Yeah. There's governors and mayors out there doing something about SNAP. They're not doing anything for that with starving kids. Right. This is a prime time to activate and wake up working people. And you're just seeing with what's happening at the airports in DFW.
Oh, yeah.
You're seeing with the holidays looking smaller. You're looking at a global an economic strikes, and unions understand those things. And I think, what have you seen with the activation of your union being a part of your campaign?
I am so grateful to be able to have a union and the great benefits afforded to me with a negotiated contract. And I'm honored to have my union support me in this fight because they know how important it is. But when you look at the history of unions, I wouldn't be here without my union, period. But when you look at the history of unions, they were a natural response to corporations taking advantage of hard-working Americans, hard-working Texans, and we have to really ask ourselves, is this fight similar? Whenever we are being taken advantage of every single day by a slow creep of cost of living, and our government is not doing anything meaningful to actually make a real change in our everyday lives, this is the exact thing that happens. My union saw this, they knew it, and they backed me 100%. Yeah. And not just them, other unions. I have to thank all of the unions that came and supported me. The AFL-CIO, they are amazing. Yeah. And we have excellent leadership. They are so helpful. I was able to get help with phone banking, block walking, the stuff that unions should be doing. They should be a pillar of our community. Yeah. So, and we do give back, and that's really what it's all about.
Yeah, that identifies a lot of places where people can plug in too. So to your point, grassroots organizing, finding places where people can plug in wherever they're comfortable. So it's not like everybody has to go knock doors or everybody has to contribute to your campaign or show up to do the phone banking and all that stuff. There's just a lot of opportunities for people.
You're right. So you look at like unions, and unions have always been the underdog. And I was the underdog in this election. I still am. They
didn't even consider you when talking about it. They were talking about the two Republicans
the two
in the
fighting
news.
Each other.
And let me just say this. I see why people didn't see what I see, what my team saw. I get it. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna get outspent. I'm in a heavy Republican-leaning district, but there are things that cannot be measured. People's frustration, people's excitement, people's want for something different. And these are the things that I saw because I am a working Texan.
Yeah.
And you were on their doorsteps asking them.
And I was on their doorsteps. So I saw something others didn't. And
after you had your election, you went back to work and turned a wrench.
The very next day. But that's really what this is all about. Is I've been hearing the concerns, the creeping debt crisis we have in DFW specifically. It is a problem.
Yeah.
There is a problem with the rising costs of housing, and there's no politician is actively talking, having press conferences, having town halls about how they're going to solve these issues. But I will.
Yeah.
I plan on having quarterly town halls where I want everyone to come out and tell me what's affecting you, good, bad, and ugly, because the most important thing a politician can do is listen. And I don't even say a politician, I say any leader must listen. So, again, I got outspent, but sending a message that is honest, that resonates with the average voter to help them, that's a cheap message to send.
Yeah, when I saw the data, I saw it on the See It, Name It, Fight It Instagram, where it was talking about of the 327 voting precincts that had registered voters in your district, only 26 moved more Republican. And the average precinct moved 10 points to the Democrat, which is obviously you. When we talk about what you're living through you represent all of us. You represent the movement, right? Tarrant County is the largest swing county. Fort Worth is 47% of that county. Where Tarrant County goes Texas, goes this country. And you are today walking that responsibility for so many of us today. And so, like, I think when I look at how you did that with no financial support really outside of just people giving you money, but also I look at like the endorsements. Like, I'm very upset at Fort Worth and the Fort Worth establishment. I mean, there's people who, because I know you won't get mean, but I will get mean for you. It's the on the other side that unfortunately the person who you're going against is a part of the extremism that has made North Texas education a laughingstock. I mean, the book bans, the critical race theory jargon, like all the things, the 10 Commandments back in schools, all that stuff is literally a person who's running against you. And to see our Firefighters Association of 440 in Fort Worth, Texas, a union, picked a book ban lady over a union candidate. That shows me it's like how much the existing establishment of our city and our county desperately does not see and hear. And you were the bat signal for them. They better start waking up. And all those John Huffman voters who got third, who kind of knew they couldn't go all the way to the right, they better have a hard look in the mirror. That includes our mayor of Fort Worth, who endorsed the other guy. That includes a lot of the establishment. And you got a lot of people who said they cared about education, like Ross Perot Jr., who runs Alliance, Texas, who endorsed the book ban lady. You go to her website, Ross Perot Jr. is on there. When you have a Lockheed Martin unionist, these are the things that we got to be holding our people accountable here in Fort Worth. So as a podcast representing you, and you're a Fort Worth kid, that's the other thing. You live here in Fort Worth. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the moment we get to see and you get to operate whenever we figure out what the date is for us to run and make sure you win that race.
Right, and I am the only candidate that actually does live in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
I just, to me, I don't really let that stuff bother me too much because I want the endorsement of the teacher, of the students. I mean the parents. I want to make sure that I build the trust of those folks, veterans, unionists. I want to make sure that I have them on my team because
exactly.
I think that the establishment can do what they're going to do. If they're for me, against me, that's okay. That's their choice. But whenever I have the voters and all these folks that live in the community on my side, I know that I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah, and that's exactly the point. I think you hit it on the head. Like this is
not beholden to billionaires, not beholden to groups that have had sway in this community for so many years, but being accountable to the people. I think is the message here.
And that's a beautiful. You have that message, that populist working class message that is working right here in Texas. Yeah. And I think it's been a long time since we've had a race to be this discounted on finances and establishment endorsements. I mean, I don't know. I was seeing where they weren't even inviting you in the rooms for panels or for things. You didn't even get invited to the rooms, and you out here knocked on doors and made those count. I mean, I don't know how you did that and how you got people excited, but you did that. And again, I think there was a lot of people in Fort Worth and a lot of people who had given you low rankings on being the top of the ticket. But that dude, I mean, you made history, and we want to continue to make history. So what else would you like for us, listeners, people in our communities to start doing for you?
Great question. I know that I joined this fight because I was tired of seeing working Texans get screwed over. They always finish last. And so I knew that I couldn't, it's past sharing something online. I couldn't just keep sharing, I'm going to post this, or I'm going to say this to somebody. It's past all that. We have to take action. If you're truly fed up with how things are going, you have to get out there, sign up, even if it's not my campaign. Sign up to volunteer for someone's campaign, get involved. I hope it's my campaign, but, because it's the coming up. But block walk, phone bank, whatever you can do, and just, we can all make excuses like, I'm feeling tired. But just do it, right? Like, go out there, be bold, get involved, because getting involved with the campaign is also getting involved with your community. I had a ton of great feedback first time people ever block walking, having a great experience. And I see them again and they're like, hey, it was really cool talking with people about that are frustrated with the same issues I am at the door.
Yeah. And it feels like it doesn't work, right? It feels like, oh, I got 3 people in 2 hours. But then it's like, but 20 other people are knocking, and then those 6, and then you doing that every day.
But those 3
and
people
they're actually motivated to go vote. Whereas I think just the algorithms on social media, people just get all caught up in that and then don't actually take the next step to actually go do something. But when someone shows up on your doorstep and has a conversation with you that resonates with what you struggle with every day, even if it's somebody that's doing it on your behalf and, you know, you can't knock on every single door, I think that totally is what... Exactly. But it's a fantastic wave that has occurred.
It is. And you'd be surprised that some of my favorite doors, you know, that I would knock, it'd be a machinist or someone who works, you know, for pipe fitters or another union, and they understand where I come from immediately because they know, oh, you're union, and you know, other doors where it's a teacher and she talks to me about how, you know, she's really frustrated because she can't, you know, teach the kids how she wants to because there's so much you know, overregulation, and we need more local controls of these schools. And I'm like, yes, you know, we do. So these are the things that, you know, I get to hear from the actual people who, you know, clock in early, leave late, and keep our state running. That to me is so much better than going on a panel or doing this, that, or the other, because that is the root of this campaign. And I want people to come and join me on these block walks and have this community building experience. It really is my favorite thing.
Something we heard a lot about, and I saw a lot. What did you see around voting sites? Now we had such low voting sites, and some of these were very important. Northside's voting site in early election, right?
Historic Southside wasn't there in early voting.
I mean, Diamond Hill.
None of my core places
Diamond
were.
Hill didn't have. So what were you hearing from people around times and just the voting location situation that we were put into with this race that could have made a difference?
Well, they shut down a lot of locations for early voting, and I think, you know, the only natural response to that is less people are going to vote. I've met a lot of people that any little inconvenience will stop them from doing something.
Yeah.
So making instead of a 5-minute drive, a 20-minute drive, that's huge. And some of them, you know, maybe not have been that dramatic, but, you know, a 10-minute difference. You know, people are working more now than ever. A lot of people have 2 jobs. Who has 10 minutes to get in your car and drive somewhere you wouldn't normally have to?
Yeah.
Because there's no one forcing you to do this. There's no, you know, pressure. So
other countries do fine people when they don't vote, but this country does not.
right.
And I mean,
and they have way higher voter turnouts in those countries. So,
and there were people who were saying to me, "It's like, yeah, my spot next to my house wasn't an early site location like it used to be, so I waited to the election day to vote when it was." But then I'm like, do you know how many people who like just missed that day because they decided to play with fire right there, like wait, and they missed?
Yeah.
And that like, there's people who probably wanted to vote.
There's actually areas, I live in one of them, where people don't have a mode of transportation, but they can walk to their polling location. And it was shut down.
Yeah.
The one that I can walk to was shut down.
Yeah, the one I could walk to was shut down too.
Yeah. So I feel like this is something we need to ask ourselves. Are we going to put up, you know, their excuse was that it was too expensive this is but if we're going to put prices on things, we're going to put prices on people's votes, because we already saw they're putting prices on people's on kids' education.
Yeah.
They're saying, oh, we're going to, you know, so to me, it's just getting worse.
Yeah. I mean, it was $1 million that you saved from halving the early voting sites, but like $1 million for democracy. We're spending $1 million on the racial gerrymandering lawsuits, you know, so it's not, it wasn't about that. They saw someone like you in your race coming who was going to create that light for 2026.
I got one more question.
Okay, good.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, so there's the runoff, which is January, February, still trying to figure that out. And then you immediately have to run for the regular election, right? So that's the primary in May and then the general in November of next year. So you're just going to be running all next year. That's a lot of like energy to keep up. This is a very exciting time because like, surprise upset and like so close to getting it out right. I'm curious what's the plan to keep that momentum and keep people involved and make that difference?
Yeah, great question. We have to do what we've set out to do and start, making sure that our message lands with voters, that we are championing their issues. It honestly comes with that, where people are excited that they actually have a voice now. People have even come to me and say, hey, thank you so much. I feel like you're going to impact my life. And that's our goal, right? Like, I want to make sure that whenever I'm on the Senate floor, that I'm saying things that you're like, yes, I would have said that. And that is what gets people excited. People get excited whenever they feel like they have a real chance to change something. And in this election, in this Senate seat, you do. Mm-hmm. We have a chance to elect a card-carrying rank-and-file union member to the Senate floor. So I can go from the shop floor to the Senate floor and start actually fighting for working Texans, just like I've been fighting for my workers and my machinist union. And people, that resonates with people. I've had people that show up every block walk and they're like, hey, I'm here. And I ask them, I'm like, why are you here? Well, I'm excited. You're actually someone that I know will do the right thing. And that's just the best thing to have. That's such an honor, and it makes me feel like it really motivates me. It makes it so, yeah, I'm going to campaign. I'm going to keep campaigning because I have these people that really, truly believe in what we're doing. What it comes to be is when we show up, we win. When we fight for what we care about most, our kids, school education, our jobs, and our rising costs of living, we win.
Well, Taylor, we're pumped to be a part of this movement with you. We constantly talk about how Fort Worth is the front line of our democracy. If Tarrant County is the battleground, because we're the largest swing county. And you were that shining battle in this history that gives us the light that we all needed to show that this is possible. So thank you for all the sacrifice you make to run for us, to run for people. And everyone in Fort Worth should be behind our Fort Worth kid running to be on that Senate floor. So thank you for coming on to the 817 pod. You can go to taylor4tx.com. You can donate. You can sign up to Block Walk. And you can get involved with this movement because we got obviously a lot more elections to go in this campaign with Taylor. So thank you for coming on to the pod.
Thank you so much for having me.
So that was a great interview with Taylor Rehmet after a fantastic upset, apparently, coming from being an underdog to coming out on top. So we were glad to have him back today in order to share with us the opportunities going forward.
That's awesome.
that people have to get engaged and involved in his race.
You look like you're a rocket about to take off. You're so pumped.
Because if I'm the Fort Worth Council, like every single one of those people on that dais, we try to tell you it was humming. Yeah. It was coming. Mm-hmm. Every single one of them should be looking in the mirror and deciding, who do I want to be? Because right now, the people, the people are seeing exactly through this crap. It has nothing to do with money. The establishment picks. And Fort Worth, if this is happening in SD9,
I'm definitely going to put on screen right now for anyone watching on YouTube the comparison of what this district, what the voting turnout looked like in 2024 and what it looked like this year, because we saw a huge blue shift. Like if I were Charles Lauersdorf, I would be sweating right now because it looks like his whole district just turned blue. And then all of City Council District 10, pretty damn blue if someone wants to start running for that seat now that Alan Blaylock's out.
That's going to be an open seat, no incumbent.
Mm-hmm. This is like, I think why I'm about to like take off on this rocket ship is because Nate Scatzline showed up to City Council and he saw it really fast. He's like, well, I guess I got to go try to be the next Charlie Kirk because I can't work in Fort Worth anymore. Yeah. And that boy left. And then Alan Blaylock's like, I got to leave. Let me go see if I can win 93. I think Charles Lauersdorf and him did their whole little white settlement thing because they know they got to go find an extreme right seat because they know their seat ain't going to be there. I think that the writing is on the wall, and I think the Mayor Parker and her in a podcast, she is just angry because she's stuck in a hard place where her whole brand and her thing was the John Huffman voters, which that was the surprising part of this is like looking at the election. He got 16% of the vote when he technically, I believe, had the most money of the three candidates.
By a lot. Yeah.
By a lot. And that money, with the Mayor Parker endorsement and all the stuff, could only get you 15%. So if you're Mayor Parker sitting here like, oh, man, I cannot move my Republican Party, and we already know you're not rocking with the people, so it's like that little 16% crew, they need to start figuring out who they're going to be.
Yeah.
Especially for this election when it's Taylor Rehmet, who's a pretty, like, it's not EJ you're going out. You know, this is a pretty, like, straightforward, nice, middle of the road guy.
But he is a totally rocking with the people guy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what the campaign was all about. With the little money that they had, they were meeting people on their doorsteps. They were talking to people about their everyday problems. They weren't just fear-mongering, trying to scare people, trying to fight against something that they don't want. They were saying, this is what we're going to do to make your life better day to day.
Yeah, I think when you look at Fort Worth, everyone is having a slice of humble pie and realizing who are they going to be, because if this is the start of something, it's only going to get more loud in the actual blue areas of the city. Like this is a tough one. Right. So I just think, and let's be clear, though. I want to also be clear. A lot of the argument is that this was the extreme right Leigh Wambsganss against the conservative, classic, moderate guy. But we need to make sure you guys hear John Huffman's priorities before.
Yeah, not very moderate.
Yeah, not moderate. Ready? Here's securing the border with President Trump, banning the Chinese Communist Party from buying Texas land, anti-epic against the Islamification of Texas. This is what his issues is on this website, and he's not even the crazy one.
Or the craziest
one.
Yeah, he is crazy.
Because technically, our mayor endorsed this one.
Yeah, and he lost me when he said he would endorse her if he didn't make it to the end, which I don't know if he's done or not, but that basically said to me, you're just as whack as her. Because these are not people standing on principle. These are not people standing up for, I mean, I guess they are standing on their principles, but their principles are crazy.
Their principles are doing whatever their billionaire backer says to do.
Yeah.
But
ruining public education, not standing up for working people, not doing the things that everybody is suffering from right now.
And I just don't know, right? Betsy Price was the beginning against Tim O'Hare. Boom. Tim O'Hare said, this is our party. I actually thought Huffman was going to get a little closer chance to this. And Leigh Wambsganss said, nope, this is our party. And it's just like, what does that do to all you Fort Worth classist establishment who know dang well the only words that should be coming out of your mouth until this election is Taylor Rehmet, if you want to still be a sane individual. And so before people start showing up at your desk, before people start showing up at city council, we're telling you how like your stuff is so broken and your party that you can't keep playing along.
Yeah.
You have to do something different. And Taylor is going to be the rock of surprise. I think there's a lot of them who still think that the Republicans are going to win this seat, which it could maybe be close, but I just think the whole Leigh Wambsganss being this book banned lady, that happened in Keller. That happened in Southlake. Those are Republican areas. You're going to get a lot of apathy there and people not wanting to get up out of their seats to vote for this lady.
One would hope that they would have an idea what they're voting for and not just looking at the letter after the person's name and going from there, because they need to be aware of what they're voting for, and it's not moderate Republicans. It's extreme Republicans. Yeah,
but I think that's why I believe that's why like stuff like our podcasts and shout out to like Indivisible 12, Indivisible 24, everything that these communities organizings have been doing looks to be working.
Well, and I think we touched on it a little bit in the interview earlier, the turnout being high, even though the voting locations were cut. But I don't think that's because I think that was because people were pissed off
Yes.
about those voting locations being cut.
Yes.
I think people went out of their way to educate their friends and family about where they needed to go. I know I was texting people every
Yep.
single day answering questions about, is my regular voting location open during early voting? Telling them, no, it is not. You're
Yep.
going to have to go to this location. And then telling other people, if you need information on these propositions, if you just go in there and try to read them right off the bat without doing any research, you're going to feel overwhelmed, and then you're going to feel stupid, and you're not going to want to chime in on stuff, but you need to educate yourself ahead of time. So I think there's just a groundswell of people wanting to be engaged and not sit back anymore.
It was surprising though that for a lot of people, it was just the constitutional amendments on there.
Yeah.
The voting turnout was 20% or close to it. It was like 18. That in city council elections, we're lucky when we get more than 10. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
I was so surprised, but I guess it goes to your point of that, like, people are angry and they want their voice to be heard, and this is, it's an off-year election. This is the only time they can voice those opinions. And
I think it's an outcome of the gerrymandering, redistricting, racial redistricting that they did at the county level and then at the state level. I think people were looking for ways to be heard because they're mad about those things, and those things are upsetting to them. And they're like, okay, even if you pack us into this precinct over here and don't allow our voices to be heard in more than one precinct, we're going to show up every time now and vote. And the problem would be if that peters out and people kind of lose energy. And so to the point of the end of our last interview, it's important that we don't allow that to happen, that people still continue to show up.
But the amendments all passed.
Yeah.
So I guess, to me, where this is confusing is high voter turnout or higher voter turnout. Taylor Rehmet upsets as a Dem, but the amendment still went towards what Abbott want.
Yeah.
So I guess
I don't think there was a concerted effort to direct people in other than passing them. I think that the voices out there, people kind of tend to think, oh, these lawmakers put effort into writing these things. These must be things that need to happen in order to improve our Constitution.
Absolutely
And
not.
there was a bit of an effort to say vote against all of them in order to show that we don't support anything that this legislature is doing. There was some that were kind of trying to parse out which ones were actually harmful and damaging or tying the hands of future lawmakers and vote against those. But even up to the last minute, I was getting text messages from people saying, now which ones are not great, and why are you saying that? Because some of them were written to sound like they're going to lower your property taxes, and they're probably not. And if they do, it's going to be at a negligible amount that is not going to have that great of a impact for you. But in the overall not funding things, to the point of the slush fund that they're not using now for education, it's just going to further the degree of not having the funds that we need in order to provide the things that people need to live a decent human existence.
Exactly. So yeah, I would say it is disappointing that all the amendments passed, but I would say, looking at election night across the country, we saw just a big blue wave, just incredible things happen across the country. Number one most amazing thing, Zoran Mamdani as mayor of New York. That is so incredible to see someone unabashedly bold, progressive, to actually implement policies that help the average person, totally changing the trajectory of New York. That's awesome. We saw first women Democratic governor in New Jersey. In Virginia, we saw Michelle Wu reelected as
Boston's mayor.
Exactly. One of the best mayors
Oh,
in the
absolutely.
country.
Oh, she's always on public transportation. I gotta love that lady.
Yep. And then we saw Prop 50 pass in California.
Like this.
So, exactly. Everyone is angry right now, and this was an opportunity to send a signal that we're fed up and we're changing the direction.
And here is where I'm excited, because when you look at the Zoran, and we both said we looked at the speech, I was on the airplane when I was watching the speech, and I was getting ready to get back to Texas because I wanted to feel that Rehmet energy.
Yep.
But he was bold. He quoted a socialist. He was bold, and it was not a consultant-led campaign. And I think the biggest shocker is the Rehmet stuff, because Rehmet was going against a tons of different money, and he, in my opinion, still went the Democratic Party consultant way of his election. And I think if he would have done any type of Zoran Mamdani, just a smidget, he would have got those 3,000 votes. And so what I'm saying is that there's a potential in Texas that I think where all Dems, all working class people are fed up. And that now it's just about like, we can't let any mediocre Dem benefit from this moment. You know, like you can't just let mediocre Dems benefit from 25 to 28. It is time that everyone deserves a challenger, and we need the baddest, boldest people to come out and play and then allow an election to happen, because to me, we haven't even pressed that gas on this Texas election. And that's where I think the big point is. And then hold our people accountable now that the Republican is also choosing the more extreme candidate. So now that pits these... Dems have spent all their energy trying to meet these conscious Republicans in the middle. Well, now you got someone like a Taylor, and the party has left you. What does that group do? But I don't think that's the success of us, the progressives. Like should be the new floor now. It's like, how much of a soul or how much of a consciousness do you have to not go that extreme? To where this is going to be a big blue shift in Texas, where like maybe I didn't believe it, but maybe in 2026 we could really flip Texas.
Absolutely.
Because of this kind of moment where the Republicans are so far gone, where they're going extreme right, losing everybody from their groups. And now a Ken Paxton against Tellerico, a Ken Pax, like that starts feeling a lot winnable, because the Cornyn guy who gets to act kind of like your dad's Republican isn't in the way anymore. That's what John Huffman was trying to be in this race.
Yeah.
So it's like, dang, like if this is going to be a lot more exciting, but I still think we as Texans can get bolder. Oh, yeah,
I think I was really excited about the results in New York as well. And it did harken back for me a little bit, because my feed in my social media is still very mixed. And so I'm not totally in an algorithm of people that are like-minded and agree with me. So the disheartening thing that I saw right after those election results came out were people here in this town who were posting on their social media things that were basically Islamophobic, racist things, hearkening back to 9/11, saying that the people in New York had forgotten about 9/11 by electing this man. And some of these people are employed by the Fort Worth Police Department. And so when I see these kind of things in my social media, I think I need to stop being horrified by some of this stuff, because it's clearly the way they believe and they feel. And being flabbergasted by it and being surprised by it is not necessarily getting us anywhere.
Well, I mean, the mayor endorsed the Zionists, the guy who's the Islamification of Texas.
Yeah. He's
fighting against the Islamification of Texas. And that was their moderate candidate. You know how screwed they are? This is, and I think it's the leaders of who should know better.
Well, they're bold about it now, because back in 2014, when I was running, just my very last name made people ask the question about whether I was affiliated or associated with people who are Muslim. And I was asked that question, are you Muslim? And I'm like, well, would it matter if I was? And now people are saying that part out loud and just being completely racist.
But I just think the whole part that I'm saying is that there's people who know better who are still not doing better.
Yeah.
I'm less about the crazies, or the people who lost the sauce. Like they're down that rabbit hole. But it's the people who know they should be doing better. Manny Ramirez, right after Leigh Wambsganss in the election results, had a great job, Leigh Wambsganss, on a great election. It's like, wait, isn't Manny Ramirez on Mayor Parker's literacy coalition group, and we're fighting for Fort Worth literacy, and he's congratulating the book ban lady? The book ban lady? It's like, How can Ross Perot Jr. and Mike Berry, who are also on the literacy group, be like, man, we need to teach these people to read so we can give them jobs here in Alliance, but let's endorse the book ban lady. So they are running in so many ways. The Republican Party has no game plan. They have no clarity on who they are. And we are going to eat. What Taylor showed me is we are going to eat, but we got to go ahead and start running. And this is just the beginning. And because they have lost the course. And unfortunately, people like Mayor Parker who got on a podcast, her not doing anything, she's just in the middle of that mess and she's fried.
Well, her excuse is always that she's not going to get into that partisan politics that is at the level that is not local government, but it's
then she does
affecting
it all
local
the
government.
time.
Yeah,
And she does, because she
endorsed John
endorses in these partisan races.
But she
So-
she endorses John Cornyn.
She endorses that lady for president too. Like she gets involved all the time.
Yeah, it's like the Democrats are seen as we're losing, but it's like if you look at the Betsy Price's, Glenn Whitley's, Maddie Parker's, they keep trying to endorse the non-MAGA affiliated or as MAGA endorsed person and are getting waxed by Trump and Tim O'Hare. Those are the biggest losers.
They keep holding on to this idea that there are sane Republican politicians that they can endorse, and they're proven time and time again that the far right is taking over their party and they won't abandon their party. It doesn't make sense. Like, if what you want is moderation, you're not going to find it there.
100%. And that's where I think like what can't be the win is these people start moving over to the Democratic side and like, okay, so calling all red, and they're starting to pick their people, and it's like, oh, we're good now because we're not this anymore. No, Trump, and now what we see with Zoran, that's the floor. The floor is not being radical Republicans running our seats anymore, but the ceiling is bold, progressive. Let's go see what we can get on the table, right? I think we're on a hot table to see what can we go get on our values, and that's what 2025 shows.
And it is on our values. It's the things that are for the people. So it's not anymore fighting against what we don't want to see or being terrified. It is the battle for things that are for the people.
Yeah. All right, so this next story was written by our favorite opinion article journalist, Bradford Davis, who brought an important story that was something we shared on the pod, and some local people were telling me about Maher's family. And so to tell you who Maher is, Maher Tarabishi was taken by ICE, which leaves his sick son, Wael, who lives with Pompe disease and depends on his father every single day. Maher is someone who has been in this country, in Arlington, in this country for 32 years. And he's been taking care of his 30-year-old son who's like, can't really do a lot on his own. And this is an Arlington family. And I just thought it was important for us to give, because the number one thing I see that people want on this podcast is us to be more communicative of what's happening to our immigrant population, with ICE. And I think this is something that's not getting enough attention. If without Bradford actually writing about it, it wouldn't have been a story. But we have this family who, this father who's been taking care of his son, who's now was taken by ICE by just doing his regular visit that he was told he was allowed to do, because he was able to stay in this country because of his son. But the request was, as long as you continue your visits. Yep. And during his check-ins, he is now detained by ICE. And when I think about, again, how Arlington and Fort Worth is communicating about our relationship with ICE and not giving our families any type of security or safety, this is important, because Wael is reliant, and this family is reliant on him being the main caregiver of his son.
Yeah.
And now what do they do?
Yeah, I think that this brings it home for people. I think a lot of people have just been watching videos of things that have been happening in other states, in other cities, and not thinking that it's necessarily having an impact here locally, but it obviously is. And this whole idea that they're only arresting people who are violent criminals or who have broken laws in different ways is just nonsense. They're clearly trying to reach a quota and please our president in bringing in a certain number of people like every month. And this doesn't even touch on the fact that what I've seen in some of these raids and sweeps is people dragging people out of cars. I mean, it reminds me of the efforts that have been made to inform and educate police officers on how to do community policing. And yet in this instance, we're hiring people with little or no training who are just kind of getting off on dragging people out of their cars, showing up with cars with no license plates on them, wearing masks so we don't even know who they are. To Wesley's point earlier, talking about people, how do you even know that this is law enforcement?
Yeah.
It could totally just be somebody kidnapping you.
Exactly. There's no difference between this and just another, like a kidnapping.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah. So to be arrested when you're following the process and going through the procedures and you've checked every box, and you hear people constantly in these videos saying, I have papers, I am doing this process correctly, and having these folks respond in a way that if our Fort Worth police officers acted this way in public, they would be brought up in front of our police monitor and hopefully disciplined, because that would not be a way to be doing policing in Fort Worth, Texas.
Yep. And according to a Syracuse University project that is tracking and analyzing the government data around who's being detained by ICE, they found that 72% of the roughly 60,000 current detainees are being held without a criminal conviction. Mm-hmm. And this shows case, I mean, Maher is, I mean, he's the dad, a true kind of hero. I mean, taking care of his 30-year-old son who's had 36 surgeries due to his condition, can't take care of himself. And, you know, Bradford, the journalist, tries to, you know, get a comment out of him. And the kid's like, my dad changed my life. What did he do wrong? And these have to be some of the hardest parts of being a journalist, is when you get to talk with working families who, you know, this guy was an electrical engineer. He was also probably providing, you know, even to this, whatever we all needed as people in Arlington. And now they're asking for donations. They're asking for support for the family. And so that will be in the description as well. But I just think these types of things, you should want your leadership, our community to be standing up more for these things, because this is inhumane. And, and
it has local impact, even if this is something that is at the federal level, and it's not necessarily our job as local electeds to have input on the policy. If it's negatively impacting residents and constituents of local electeds, they should have some opinion about it, and they should do everything in their power to speak up in support and response to these things happening.
Speaking of, that brings us to another topic here on the same subject, is that this week Dallas City Council voted unanimously to not partner with ICE, which is so nice to see. And I really wish that Fort Worth had that same kind of solidarity with our immigrant neighbors.
Well, I think the article points out the fact that the chief of police in Dallas flat out said that he was not going to be collaborating with ICE. And the articles harped on the fact that this would mean a loss of $25 million. And he still stood strong that this was not part of their job description, what they should be doing, and it would be negatively impactful to residents of Dallas. The mayor of Dallas decided that the chief should not be able to make this decision all by himself, and that the council should chime in on it. So he put it on the agenda for the council to vote on. And when you said it was unanimous, I was shocked, because he was the one that brought it back, maybe to change the decision. But then you pointed out that he didn't show up for the meeting. Unanimous decision by the rest of council to go along with what the chief had already decided.
And look, and this is where it's just like, going back to even short story one, just to like put it together, it's like there was, I want to say they had over 70 something people speak.
Big group.
Yeah, big group. When Arlington had their standing up for pride,
LGBTQ rights,
they had like 50 people. You have us over here for Patrice Jones gotten 72 people signed. Like this Metroplex is wanting something different,
mm-hmm.
and it's like. What's exciting about North Texas is like we're leading the change in Texas. They talk about the growth. We're a third of the growth in Texas when you look at last year's growth, but we're also leading the political shift, and that is like really exciting.
So our final short story is big news here in Fort Worth, in that TA has launched a takeover of Fort Worth ISD, and the most recent news is that they have appointed a Fort Worth ISD conservator, which a few people have been confused about whether that is the superintendent role, but it is not. In other state takeover situations, such as in Houston, they took over, they put a conservator in place, they hired someone to take on that superintendent role, and they put in place a board of managers to replace the trustees that were the elected trustees on that board. In Fort Worth, they threw a little bone, I guess, at the beginning by stating that our current superintendent could apply for the job to continue to serve, and that decision has yet to be made. So currently, there's just the conservator in place, and they have had a couple of meetings, which I did not attend, but I've spoken to a few people who have attended those meetings, and were pretty frustrated with the answers or lack thereof that they got at those meetings, because it was a lot of questions about how are you going to choose the people to serve on this board, and there's a requirement to go through some governance training, which from people who are familiar with this, it's excellent training, so that could be a positive opportunity, but nobody's getting paid for their time to do that. No one's going to be paid to be on this board of directors, and the person who is the conservator is getting paid substantially for his part in this job. So
this is to me like, yeah, I mean, and people are kind of confused because he came from New Mexico, so they think it's a Democratic blue state, but he was there representing this when there was a Republican governor there. But a couple of the red flags about him, he has deep ties to the education reform accountability movement. So he's really focusing on being punitive on like teachers and test scores. Mm-hmm. He was also part of the expansion of charter schools. He really likes competition driven accountability.
I was really surprised reading all that, because it seems like it's just doubling down on all of the things that are, in fact, making education worse. Like we heard it from Eddie and Ale when we had them on, is that the over-reliance on testing is what's taking away from the time to actually teach.
Yeah.
And so with this guy planning to, we can assume, put even more emphasis on testing, like, what is the intended outcome? Because even in the Houston takeover, when they did similar stuff of just such an intense focus on test scores, and they like claimed victory at the end, it was like 1% better. This is a lot of damage to do for a 1% improvement. And all of this because of one failing school that isn't even around anymore. Like, it's just insanity.
And to see the Fort Worth establishment
all get in line
and say, oh, this is a good thing. Don't rustle feathers. And it's like these literacy groups who are saying that like they're going to back literacy-based candidates and support politicians who have literacy-backed, policies. And yet now those same people are the same people going back. Everything's connected at the end of the day. The goal of this whole podcast is everything's connected.
The dots.
And the people are pissed, and now we're tired of this system that's fraud. Now, like, this same people who are like, don't ruffle the feathers. Like, why are y'all so mad at Mayor Parker? Why, we had to have the state take over because Fort Worth ISD has some issues. Well, you guys are now also allowing those same people who you endorse as literacy advocates endorse the book ban lady and then say nothing about it. And it's like the people who constantly want to put the pressure on students and staff are people who benefit from existing in the politics and the system that has us in this situation. They're missing the point that the system needs to change in order for us to solve the literacy problem. But because I'm reading the kids, if we only had enough more people to read kids in this oppressive white supremacy system, maybe black and brown kids would solve. And they have it so broken, and that is what the mayor, as an education mayor supposedly, and a lot of our funders, right, when we have our Fort Worth Way pod, which we're going to have a Fort Worth Way pod, by the way, everyone, Thanksgiving is what we're going to do. I think it's going to talk about this, right, the incrementalist convention of Fort Worth existing in a system thinking we can do something about our biggest problems, and a lot of those people who say we can been doing this for decades.
Yeah, refusing to see the systematic problems and that's the root of the problem. You can test people, you can go read to people, you can try to make it better for the few people that you can touch with those nonprofits and that collaboration, but it's not fixing the problem that brings that whole thing to be as big as it is now.
That's the thing I've been confused about the literacy thing. I was like, oh, we need to get more people in to read to these kids. And I'm like, what difference does that make? I can tell you for a fact what the biggest difference would make is smaller class sizes, better teacher pay, and more teachers so that they have help to like
Actually funding schools.
Yes, because it's crazy to me how little a part of being a teacher is actually getting to teach.
Yeah.
So much of it is other stuff. So if we just gave them more resources and flexibility, they're experts. That's why we hired them, is to teach these kids.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like this is the wave of what electeds do these days, is that they put themselves in to micromanage people who are experts that could do their job better if they were well funded, if they were given autonomy in order to do that, if they were not hamstrung by curriculum that doesn't include books. I mean, there are just so many ways that they could make the ability for the experts to actually do their job better.
And here's how you know it's oppressive, is that where's the accountability system to the voucher program? If you're so gung-ho about graduation rates, they have no accountability to spend their voucher program money however they want. And that's sometimes it's like they spend so much of their energy making us look down at the problem when so much of Fort Worth got to start looking up. Yeah. And I think, Ann, kudos to you in this pod is like, I think the reason why you've gotten like about transportation is like, man, I've been fighting for transportation for years in this place. And I realized like trying to do it, like
with people who are never going to agree with me.
Yeah. And I think the literacy advocate groups in the Fort Worth way, who still tries to hold on to existence of what they think Fort Worth should be, they got to start getting to that program as well. It's like, this train is leaving, bringing it back to transportation, and we're going into a different direction.
Well, the literacy movie that they screened recently was about a fight in New York. And they literally was a group of moms that fought and fought and fought. During this fight, they knew there was going to be a major change in the administration. They had convinced one group of people, and then a whole new group of people were going to come in. And they just continued to say, it's going to have to be a fight. It's going to have to be a fight. It's going to have to be a fight. And to me, that's not sustainable. You've got to change the system, as you were saying. You've got to change the way that we're doing these things so that we don't end up with these miserable outcomes that we then have to go and try to fix one child at a time.
And that's the one thing that I think the Christian nationalists understand. Like, they know that everything's up for grabs. And what Trump has been doing with Project 2025 is what existed before is no longer, and they're trying to choose what the outcome is. And now the people are fighting back, and everyone who's just sitting on the sideline thinking this will go over and you can go back to the way it was is going to see a world that just passed them by. A little sneak peek into my Fort Worth way belief here is that I think the Fort Worth way is between two Garins. You had the Charlie Garin and the Pete Garin. And they were kind of the symbol of we meet in the middle here in Fort Worth. And now those same two people, one, held a black woman captivated in Austin, Nicole Collier, and the other one's funding charter schools. And they have lost the script, so therefore the Fort Worth way should no longer sit in this two thing. That will be my start of the Fort Worth way. So y'all get ready to bring something, because we got a lot more to expose on the Fort Worth establishment and how much they're showing up to City Hall trying to do all that stuff. I saw you there, Wesley. Yeah. He didn't sit by me because I don't know. He just got up.
I didn't know you were there. I had to leave right after.
But anyways, I think everything's connected, and we are seeing a great way forward with having Taylor as our big episode today. Want to go to wins and losses?
Well, it looks like we've got a ton of wins here. I'm not sure we can get through all of them, but Wesley, I think we're trying to make up for how down we felt after the last podcast.
I mean, also there are a lot of really good wins, but last week was rough, so I'm glad this week is a more positive episode.
So are we going to lead off with the big one here at the top? Talking about being excited about a candidate. And this is a candidate that I actually get to vote for. We are super excited that Nydia Cardenas is running for Tarrant County Commissioner Precinct 4.
Let's go!
So
I can't believe we waited this long to talk about her. I should have just been bringing her up 24/7.
I was surprised that Chris like immediately posted her filing thing because I was like, oh, I thought we were going to do an announcement video. Like, okay.
Yeah. No, I think we still doing it. I know maybe that was. I mean, I got a lot of opinions on that, but I won't talk about that here. But Nydia Cardenas, like again, for those of you who don't remember, she's been on the pod twice, right? Three times.
I think more than
More
twice.
than twice.
Yeah. She actually guest pod a couple times.
Yeah.
But she runs our 817 Gather, which is our every third Sunday. We come together with other progressives and talk about the movements and things we're doing. She's our lead there, and she's put her name in the hat to run against Manny Ramirez. And grew up right here in Fort Worth, Texas. Parents of immigrants, youngest of 4.
Got a bunch of degrees.
Yep,
too.
Fort Worth,
Yep.
Northside
Smart.
High School, Northside High School grad. We're really in for a treat to have her in the May 2026 campaign season. What else do we have?
Well, we also, speaking of the 817 Gather, we had our first 817 Gather at the table. So we heard from people that they want to meet more often, and we also like want a more casual thing. So we had our first gather at Chadra Mesa, and it was a good time. I think we're going to start doing it more. And
I think we're going to do it regularly, and we're going to spread it out across the whole city. I think our goal is to do it in every council district at a locally owned restaurant and collaborate with them so that we don't show up with 30 people and overwhelm. But yeah, it was a great get together. You missed it because you were out of town.
Yeah.
So, yep, some of us have to pay the bills. Got to go out, got to get out of town. But I was jealous.
Yeah, but if anyone listening wants to join the gather, we'll be sure to put the link to the Discord.
Will we though? I feel like I got to edit a lot of the times once you're done and put the links in.
I will make a note to put it in right now. You are correct.
I'm just saying he's our producer, and I'm
Yeah.
like, maybe I was got to like. Got to go put but we actually are getting a lot of registrations, even though it's like people are finding like Instagramming me. I'm like, where's the links? I'm like, I got to look for you. I was like, oh yeah, it's not there. Here it is.
And if I can't find a link, I just RSVP for more than one person and bring somebody with me.
Yeah. Tiffany Burks, by the way, who also wanted to bring up
Yes.
as a win candidate running for district attorney. That's going to be a good one. She's trying to get on the pod. She's already emailed us. We just got to find it to fit because I know next week we're having the Texas Civil Rights group who is doing the racial gerrymander lawsuit against Tarrant County. That case is going to be on the 19th, so we get to have them right here talk about what's happening. So that's going to be fun. But we got to get her on though before the new year.
Yeah, I'm a fan of her because she was at an event that Patrice put together that had Deborah Peoples, Lisa Simmons, and her all talking about money and politics, and it was a great conversation.
Come on now.
I was there too.
Yeah.
Look at that. What else do we got?
All right, let me rapid fire these real quick. So, article from Fort Worth Report says Fort Worth finally finishes a $63 million Evans and Rosedale redevelopment. That's right across the street from Ann's office, and it's exciting to see some like actual money being invested in East Fort Worth, and it's going to be very cool. We also have billions for Texas water projects approved. Here's what that means for Tarrant County. So, there's been a lot of talk about water conservation, and also one of the less harmful amendments in the Texas Constitutional Amendment was for water funds. So that will be very nice to see.
But that also ties into do you water your lawn on the wrong day? Fort Worth may cut you off. And I saw a lot of people thinking they were going to get all their water turned off. That's not the case. Nobody's turning off everybody's water. But if you break the rules about irrigation, which I'm so glad to see a little bit more focus on conservation.
Exactly.
Because we definitely have kind of dropped the ball on encouraging folks to conserve. I'm in the middle of a landscaping project right now that is going to cut down on my need for water in my yard because it's going to be all native plants.
Hell yeah, native. That's the way to do it. We also have 25 immigrants were naturalized as American citizens during Fort Worth ceremony. It was the first time that it's been done in person since 2020.
Wow.
And I'm so happy. I guess we should have added this to our immigration short story, but it's nice that like our immigrant neighbors are getting to celebrate in person together as being a part of the community. So I'm glad to see that happened. Also, Sam Elliott and Abraham Alexander were honored at Lone Star Film Festival Gala. Abraham Alexander, local musician, he was nominated for an Oscar for Best Song. He absolutely should have won because it was the best song. The one that won was Garbage. So I'm just glad to see that like we're recognizing local talent. And another change is that liquor stores and smoke shops are now being more strictly regulated through a zoning change. And so it's nice to see we will soon have less harmful businesses littering Fort Worth. And then one thing that I'm going to count as a win for now, because as of recording this, we know that Beau French has resigned from the chair of the Tarrant County Republican Party. I know that he's planning to run for state office. So later that will be a loss. But as of today, this is a win that Beau French, famous hate speech spewer, is no longer has a platform as the head of the Republican Party.
I think he unfortunately will probably still consider his Twitter account a platform and continue to spew his nastiness, but
Nate Scatsline leaving, Beau French leaving. It's the crumbs. You guys got to see where it's headed, guys. We're starting. You guys got to get out of here. You guys got to start figuring out your next plans. They're seeing it. They're seeing it.
Yeah. A lot of wins this week. I'm happy.
Yeah.
Except for some of the losses are really bad.
Oh my gosh.
Cities voting to leave Dart. I was seeing this, guys, on the Sunday paper of the Dallas Morning News, and I know it's not Tarrant, but Plano, Farmers Branch.
We're affected.
Yeah, Irving.
Oh, absolutely.
Tens of millions of dollars here. And it's very concerning how the language is. It looks like.
Well, they don't get to vote. The electeds don't get to make this decision.
Yes.
They have to put this up for a vote of the people. Mm-hmm. And, I don't know. It's not following what people are saying on social media is probably not going to predict the outcome of all of this, but we do have the opportunity to share and inform with people why this is a really bad, backwards idea. Mm-hmm. We go on and on and on about the growth of this Metroplex and how we're going to be like the 4th largest region in the entire country. And if everyone is driving in their cars, that is not going to work. We have to have other modes of transit. And for Plano, after having gotten their freaking train station that takes them to the airport, to be continuing to push this narrative is ridiculous. I watched their mayor on a video about an African-American museum talking about how he was so glad they had this African-American museum in Plano, that it was good for Plano and all of the cities and communities around Plano. Well, dude, having public transportation and being connected to the region is good for Plano and all the communities surrounding Plano. So this is annoying as heck to me.
Yeah, and I think this is what happens with the big blue cities have to start getting alliance. Like Fort Worth, Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, and Houston has to start building a big blue city alliance. Once you can actually have your city councils to start looking like your communities and have the same values, you have to start building together. Because Governor Abbott, another thing he's done really well in his power is allow the burbs to accelerate and have different tax increments where they can get economic stuff that we couldn't get as cities. There's rules around if you're too large of a city, things don't pass, they really pigeonholed us. So now the Frisco's and the McKinneys and the Planos got a lot of power. I mean, Plano had 3,000 people at their No Kings rally. McKinney is building an airport. Frisco is the economic engine of the North Texas of the new companies. They're the second $1 billion mile. So that is all because I think the Republicans for 30 years is trying to, yes, we all want to live in walkable places, but they are trying to make that not happen by pulling off the resource.
Yeah. They make it seem like it's a bad thing. And they're the ones that made this be like a partisan thing.
Yeah.
I thought I was fighting for safe streets and accessibility for all and things that were beneficial to the entire community. And then they painted it in this partisan way and started demonizing it and making people sad and scared and upset about it and saying, oh, we shouldn't be subsidizing this, as if we're not subsidizing highways.
The fuck out of cars.
and I'm like, Texas Instruments is in Sherman now. This stuff is they want us to just continue to go out.
Yeah.
And this is really messing up our power from a dense city progressive perspective.
And then they're
we
mad
got to start fighting together.
that the transit authorities can't serve them in the best way possible when they have allowed this development to occur in a way that is impossible to serve incredibly well with mass transit. So they can't be blaming DART for the way that they screwed things up.
Yep. Speaking of, there's an article here says, you're not imagining traffic is getting worse in North Texas. And it shows that drivers spent 69 hours last year just sitting in congested traffic. And I just want to remind everyone for the millionth time, if you ever want to get rid of traffic, the only solution is transit. So
Other modes of transportation. Widening it doesn't
Yes.
do it. Adding a lane doesn't do it.
more cars only gets you more traffic.
Yep.
So some of these DART cities who want to get out of DART, they want to keep the trains, but they want to get rid of the buses and only have VIA. That's just more cars. It doesn't solve anything.
And more
it,
subsidized rides.
Exactly.
Because they only charge $3 for those rides, and it costs the transit authority a whole lot more to provide those rides in that manner. And you can only put like 4 people on those things.
Yep. The cost per rider is insane.
Yeah.
It's way more efficient with buses and trains.
There you go.
All right, so 2 actions for you is we actually have our gather, 3 actions for us. I'll do the first 2. We have our gather is November 16th at 3 o'clock. Come and hang out at the gather with us and learn about all the work we're doing to organize in Fort Worth and join community as well. It's not just about activism. It's also about engaging and becoming friends and being able to connect. And then we have public comments. Christmas came early. We thought we were done in November with public comments, but the city didn't have it on their calendar that there's actually a December one, and that is what, December 4th?
2nd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
December 2nd, we have a final public comments. So we had a great showing last time of just people sharing different things. You know, you talked about the Community Art Center.
Mm-hmm.
We had a couple people keep people accountable on Patrice Jones, on public comments. And so it was great to see. So December 2nd, maybe you can get out there and share something you would like to see in 2026. Because there's clearly a lot of things that can happen.
And you'll only have 9 opportunities in 2026 unless something changes between now and next year.
Yes.
So this year's your last
Is it
chance.
10? I think it's 10.
Is it 10?
Yeah.
Well, they say 10, but there's
Yeah,
no
yeah.
way you're getting all 10. And then one thing I wanted to add as an action, I mean, we talked about it quite a bit in the Taylor Rehmet interview. Sign up to volunteer.
Yes.
He's going to need a lot of help, driving this point home, getting across the finish line for the runoff election. So if you want to make a difference and keep all this positivity going and help for a win for working class Texans, let's help out Taylor.
Awesome, beautiful people. Well, thank you for listening for the 817 pod. Make sure you like, subscribe, share with a friend, because this is how Fort Worth is the front line of our democracy. It's things like this, us working together, and we continue to push forward. So we'll see you next time on the 817 podcast.